message today. As part of the recent announcement that Pepperstone was partnering as a platinum partnership with the ATP, as Anna's just making it really as obvious as possible. So obviously a very significant partnership for us, one of the few companies that haven't chosen soccer or AFL in Australia as our sort of go-to sport. And as our business evolves and grows, tennis is something that we see a really good partnership going forward. And obviously delighted to get Greg Rusedski, obviously the British, former British number 1, world number 4. I think it's a great chance to ask him a few questions about his career and how, Well, thanks, Greg. Let's have some fun. Let's have a bit of banter.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm going to start off with a pretty mundane question before we get into...
I thought you were going to start off with banter. Come on.
Right. Everyone just wants to know about Tim Henman and your change of allegiance from Canada to being British. Everyone wants to be British. But let's start with a mundane question. Obviously, with our allegiance with the ATP, we're really interested to see, for someone like you who's been so ingrained in tennis culture for so long, where do you see the growth and the popularity of tennis over the next sort of 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think the game is in a great place right now. And, we've obviously had the big 3, big 4. If you put Murray in that category, we've obviously have Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, and they've been incredible for the last decade, breaking every single record that is possibly out there. But we have a new legend and superstar in the making, this kid by the name of Carlos Alcaraz. I haven't seen anybody as good as him since Rafael Nadal showed up when he was 19 and won the French Open. He's 19 years of age. He's got supersonic power on both wings. He's lightning fast. He's physically strong. He's mentally tough. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wins a slam this year. That is how good this kid is. You need a mega star to follow after you've had those big 3 guys. And tennis has that. So I think the future for men's tennis is exceptionally bright and is going to be very, very good.
Yeah, cool. I want to talk about the idea of bringing the similarities between trading and tennis,
yes.
if I can. For me, about trading's about...
Which one's harder, though, is the question.
Well, I think there's more money, apparently, in tennis by the same thing, especially British tennis.
Well, it depends how you're trading.
But trading for me is about building a consistent process. It's about knowing what works, what your edge is, and exploiting that edge effectively. Trying to be consistent, obviously, ever improve results, doing less of what doesn't work. Tennis for me is in a similar situation. I mean, for me, being schooled by the market makes you come back stronger and makes you focus. How is that similarity with tennis and trading for you?
Well, I think if I took the similarities between tennis and trading, it's about preparation, doing your homework, doing your things, doing things that other people aren't doing. So, I was very lucky. It comes down to my parents. And my father was in quality control. So he liked to check everything I was doing and he wanted to be ahead of the game. So when I was 11 in the 1980s, I had a sports psychologist. That was unheard of. At 13, I had a physical trainer and was running track. Growing up in Canada, there was no role models for me. The role models were the Americans. They had McEnroe, Connors, all the world number 1 players back then. So what I wanted to do was emulate the Americans. So I was copying these guys, Sampras, Agassi, Courier, and Chang, and that was my roadmap. And you talk about numbers, because I know Pepperstone likes to deal with a lot of numbers and data and so forth. My dad would look at the numbers, win ratio when you were a junior. If it was 60-40, it was 60-40 as a professional. If it was 80-20 as a junior, it would be 80-20. So you have to find the balance of how you'd play. And I would go on that roadmap and try to train with those guys as well. So I trained with Sampras, Courier, all the very best guys to see where I was with them. And an overnight success, in Britain, we're very proud of Emma Raducanu, who won the US Open last year. Everybody says, where's she come from? Well, that's 10 years of work of doing it every single day, day in, day out. So even when these megastars show up, they have to do the day-to-day work. It's 365 days a year, as it is in trading. You guys are always looking at the markets, looking what's happening, following the latest trend, and seeing where you need to get better. If I look at my game, it was all based on serve. And I had this question from a person out there. Did you just play your A game, or did you do something different to it? I'd rather win ugly than play really well and lose. And so for me, it was knowing how I could win, and that was the key. And it's no different for you guys when you're investing or trading in the market. When you have a bad day, you feel terrible. When you have a good day, you feel great, but you have to look at the long term and what you want to achieve. So there's a lot of similarities.
Greg, well, speaking of your serve, in trading, we look for an edge and a positive expectancy. Your edge was your serve, and I believe your fastest serve, correct me if I'm wrong, was 149 miles per hour.
Yeah, that was pretty quick back then. So what I did, which was interesting, I know I like to go back to my junior days. I remember I used to lose a lot of matches that I should win because I wanted to serve and volley. I wanted to be aggressive. I wanted to be like my hero, John McEnroe. You cannot be serious. So you're either Borg or McEnroe. Tim Henman was Borg, I was McEnroe. I liked the volatility, lefty serve and volley. I would lose in junior matches 11-1, 0-1 in finals because I was too small when I was serving and volleying. But I was thinking about building a game for the future, and it was all based around that serve. I could throw a ball exceptionally far, and if you can do that, you can serve well. So I managed to have the speed record, and then I wanted to make the points as short as possible because if I got into long rallies, I was in trouble. And I had one practice session with Rafael Nadal where I played with him, and I didn't let him hit one ground stroke. Every time he got the forehand into play, I just could shake hands with him. So, just don't give him rhythm. Know what your A game does and how you have to win.
Does his repertoire put people off? It's like the All Blacks hacker, they've got that kind of psychological, people said they had the psychological edge. When he comes down the side of the court, comes in and he does all his... Does that taking its time put you off as a player? I mean, it's just a question we rehearsed, but
it does put you off because it comes to the way of he's going to do whatever he wants to do. There's kind of like, if he takes over 30 seconds, he's going to follow his routine. He's going to make you wait. He's going to do what he has to do. He doesn't do it discourteously, but that's how he has control of the situation, and it's intimidating.
Yeah.
And, physically, you have to play great tennis against the greatest forehand of all time and the greatest athlete. But what his biggest strength is right here between the ears. I mean, he's playing with a foot injury right now. Most of us wouldn't be walking with, and he's just won the Roland Garros for a 14th time. So he is intimidating. When I practiced with him for the first time, I saw him I just got to tell you this one story quickly.
Yeah.
So I was playing an exhibition in New York. They invited me. He's a 15-year-old kid. I'm watching him practice there with his agent, Carlos Costa, former top tenor. And I'm thinking, I don't want to play this kid whatsoever in this exhibition. Please, somebody else play. I was happy I lost first round, didn't have to play him in the second round. And at 15 years of age, you already knew this guy had it here, and he had something nobody else had before. So he is hugely intimidating and an awesome player.
I'll tell you what he doesn't have, and he is gutted. BBC Sports Personality of the Year 97.
He'll probably win BBC Overseas Sports Personality for sure. It could be happening this year. That's how good he is.
So talk to me about, for me, it's about, I go for a run of form. Occasionally I make money trading.
I'm sure you're doing better than just that.
And I've got to keep my confidence in check, right? So in 1997, it was your golden year. You were number one in Britain. Yep. You were number 4 in the world. You just won BBC. Can we call it personality when Andy Murray's won it 4 times?
I don't know if you can call it personality. Sporting achievement would probably be a better name for it, depending on the personality.
So that was your year. That was your year. How did you keep you were winning, you were better than Tim Henman at the time.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me that. I appreciate that.
How did you keep your ego in check and continue to stay grounded?
Well, I was always searching for more. My view was always to try to be the number 1 player on the planet. To try to be the best I could. We had the story with Emma Raducanu winning US Open and getting rid of her coach. I got the US Open finals and I actually got rid of my coach. And I did that because I wanted to be better. I wanted to win a slam. I didn't want to be just known as being in the finals. I wanted to get to number 1. So I hired Tony Picard, Stefan Edberg's coach, who won 6 majors, won Wimbledon twice, to be my coach. I had, from making that change to get that drive, I had my best 9 months of my career ever. So sometimes you have to make difficult decisions and choices. And for me, it was always shoot for the stars. And if you don't get to the stars, you at least get the moon. And that was my thing. I was 3 matches away from being world number 1 in Miami, which I missed out. And, it was always just more and more because it's such a short-lived career. Over 30 in my generation was bonus time. It's not like this generation whose sports science is better, medicine's better, training's better. Every generation gets better and better from those point of view. So it was always that insatiable drive I had, which was my key.
Staying on the psychological aspect of the tennis and trading aren't that different in terms of the psychological and the emotional responses that arise. And you mentioned earlier, as a young grasshopper, you had a sports psychologist. You must have some of the best out there when you got into the real stride of things. What were some of the mental hacks and tricks you would do to maintain composure during these high pressure situations in order to optimize your performance?
Well, if I got a pound every time someone used the towel on the ATP, that would be me because, you see the players walk over, grab their towel, get themselves focused. I was the first player to ever put that into play with my sports psychologist because I used to like to play too quickly. So that would be my sort of routine to slow myself down, to think what I needed to do out there. And that was the key. So everybody has these little nuances. And, you know, if I go back to the generation of McEnroe, I think he probably had the best thing because you remember he used to explode, get angry. You cannot be serious, yelling at the chair umpire, doing all those things. But his great friend, Peter Fleming, told me he had this way with his mind where he would say, okay, I've gotten mad. I bounced the ball 1, 2, 3 times, and he'd be in the zone within 2 seconds. So you learn how to trick your mind to forget what has just happened in the past, whether it's an argument, a bad call against you, and move forward. The best in the history of the game is Rafael Nadal, and that's why he's at 22 slams, because he can forget the most difficult situations and put them behind you, and that is a key to success for any sportsman, sportswoman, is being able to say, okay, this has happened, this wasn't good, I can't change it, and I can stay in the present. And that is very difficult to do, whether it's in tennis or whatever you do for a living.
Greg, just to finish off with, how did you remove doubt and refocus after a loss, especially after the latter stages of competition when you got so close and the stakes were so high?
I think everybody had their own routine. For me, it was all about work. So I don't think I was the most talented player, but if I would take a bad loss, I'd be like, okay, first thing 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're on the courts. I wanted to get better. I wanted to improve. And that's how I put all the things I did incorrectly to one side, because I would lose a match. You don't sleep the next night because you're thinking, why did I lose that match? How could I have gotten better? Mine was to go on the training courts. Other players, for example, will have a few beverages, take the day off, and then get to work the next day. So everybody has their thing, and you've got to find what works for you. For me, it was always work, because I knew I had to maximize what I had to do. Other players, it was take a day off, refocus, assess, get on to 2 days from there. So it's very personal.
Great stuff. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. Really appreciate some of your insights and banter, and hopefully the future holds some good stuff for you in the ATP Tour and coaching or whatever you get into.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pepperstone and ATP premium partnership now. When you do watch tennis going forward, just keep an eye out. You will see us as there on the sponsorships, and you'll see the name liberally banded around. So it's going to be a great partnership going forward, hopefully.
Yeah, and also we just like to thank, from the ATP's point of view, Pepperstone for sponsoring. And all the players love data. That's what I've got to say. It's like trading. So like having the live rankings, being able to see where players are, because you're always calculating where you're going to be as well. So we are very into our analyticals, and we also have people that tell us where everybody plays certain shots, and we do all the analytics. So I think it's a great partnership. So thank you for being part of the ATP Tour.
Brilliant, thanks. Give it up for Greg.